Hi guys, it's nice to see you here. So today we will talk about the technologies behind the ScandiPWA and our decisions behind the solution. But let me first introduce myself. My name is Liana, I'm a project mentor and I work with the ScandiPWA core team as a solution specialist. So my goal today is to present you the difference between the ScandiPWA and the default Magento 2 in a really simple way, of course. So our plan today will cover the points you can see on the screen, and we will go from the very starting from the how Magento to frontend work. Then we will define a problem, and I will explain you how did ScandiPWA core team solve it. So let's start with the basics of how Magento 2 frontend work. Imagine the first time you open the website. Your browser requests the HTML from the server, which comes with the static elements like JavaScript and styles, CSS. And your browser is really smart. It understands that for all the pages on your website, the styles and scripts will be the same. So what it does, it caches those static elements, JavaScript and CSS. And for the second time you open the same website, and not the same page exactly, the same website. For example, you go from the product listing page to the product description page. Your browser will only request the HTML to draw the right content and reuse the cached elements like CSS and JavaScript. The HTML, in turn, is cached on the server. This means that for one and the same page, the server will generate the HTML only once. So the second time you open the same page, yeah, your content is rendered much faster. And while generating the HTML, the browser uses multiple entities which are in database-defined information sources, like category information, product information, user information, etc., etc. And the approach of generating the HTML on the server is called the server-side rendering. And Magento 2, in its essence, is really smart in that case. When you change one information entity, Magento 2 can invalidate specific page caches on demand when this information you have changed is used. So, real-life example. You go to the backend, you change the product name, and what Magento does, it flushes and after regenerates the related category page and product page, maybe some other pages if the product was used there as well. So this approach in Magento 2 is called the full page cache mechanism. Okay, so we just understood that Magento is really smart. Why are we dealing with some kind of problem here? Let me explain you. So the HTML is just a presentation of the information entities. Yes, we know that when we see an HTML, we understand that, okay, the information about the category, the product, the user is located there. But you cannot really understand what is what. So you cannot say that, okay, this part is related to the category, this part is related to the product. No, we cannot. We cannot separate the information of the HTML. So despite changing only one information entity, we will flush and after regenerate all the page caches. So this makes us loading unchanged entities all over again, even though they were not changed. This is exactly what makes the Magento 2 really resource heavy in that case. It does a lot of unnecessary requests to the server for the unchanged entities. Can we actually do something with that? So now we understand that generating the HTML on the server is not efficient, right? So we must, because the information can be separated, as I said. So now we must request the information, separately. And this cannot be done using the server-side rendering. we now must communicate with the server with those separate entities. Those entities can be presented in the different formats, like JSON or XML. And to communicate with the server with those separate entities, the server must have any kind of API, which in turn can be presented in a different way, like REST API, SOAP API, or GraphQL. And the method of communicating with the server with those separate entities is called AJAX. With the AJAX methodology, the information is retrieved from the server, then passed to an algorithm on the browser, which then generates the HTML. And there can be multiple AJAX requests sent from the server, like product information, category information, etc., etc. And each of those requests can be separately cached on the server. And when we implement this AJAX methodology for all the data on the page, this approach now called client-side rendering. But the question now, is Magento 2 capable of implementing the client-side rendering? The answer is yes. Starting from Magento 2.3, it comes with partial GraphQL support. However, Magento 2 is still mostly server-side rendered. Yes, in places like cart and checkout, AJAX requests are used. They optimize and enhance the user experience on those pages. But to implement the full client-side rendering, we now need to completely rework the way how Magento 2 approaches rendering. What we must do is to get rid of the Magento layout template system. What we need now is a different solution that will be capable of working in the browser, sending requests to the Magento APIs, and then render the page in a human-readable format, which is HTML. So how did the ScandiPWA core team solve this challenge? We understand now that ScandiPWA does not support the Magento layout template system, so we needed a substitution to work in the browser, and what we use is React as our base for the frontend and GraphQL to communicate with the server. Why do we use React? Easy. React nowadays is the library which allows for the most effective page rendering. What it does is, instead of changing the whole page, React compares the expected representation of the page with an actual one and applies the changes to the exact place that was changed. And GraphQL, of course. Of course, first of all, it was chosen by Magento, themselves. But secondly, it's a really development-friendly tool. And let me explain why. Imagine you only need to have one endpoint and you point on such fields that you want the server to provide you information about. So rewriting the Magento 2 frontend using the new technology stack which is React, GraphQL, and implementing the AJAX methodology, we now can achieve the client-side rendering. And when every page of your application is client-side rendered, now your application can claim itself as a single-page application. But what is it? What is a single-page application actually? Okay, so now if you can render any page of your website, then by going to any other page, you will be for sure be able to render it, right? So there is now no need for HTML requests to be sent to the server. What we are left to do is only to fake the URLs, which can be done by manipulating the browser history. But what does a single-page application bring us? The great user experience. As there is no need now for the HTML requests, we can make the transitions smooth and fast. Why smooth? Your application now is in control of browsing. Like, we know what page will follow up, therefore, we can animate the transitions. And why fast? Basically, there is no need now to wait for the server to render the page. Your server might not even know what page you are currently browsing, of course, until you refresh the page. But yes, this is what allows us for the fast user experience. But okay, we understand now that client-side rendered single-page application is really cool. But what else does a progressive web application bring us? First of all, very cheap and easy maintenance. Imagine you now only need one source code for all the platforms, PCs, browsers, Android, and iOS applications. Only one source code you need to manage and to pay for. Also, PWA allows you for an offline browsing and the ability to install the application directly from your browser to your home screen. By design, a progressive web application also introduces you a service worker, which is a programmable proxy. But let's first define what is a programmable proxy. Imagine two people communicating with each other with a pipe. Your pipe, in this example, is a proxy. Now imagine your pipe having a valve, which somebody can control. Now your pipe is a programmable proxy. So these two people from my example are the server and the browser. And the pipe is the service worker that stands in between. Service worker controls the communication between your browser and your server. And what is a communication? Basically, it's requests and responses. And what service worker does, it caches all the corresponding responses to the requests you send to the server. So for the first time, when you send one and the same request, your service worker interrupts and responds you immediately with the cached version of the response. So these requests are not even being proxied to the server now. And this is exactly what allows us for an offline browsing and faster responses with a progressive web application. So to sum up everything we have mentioned today, Magento introduces a really effective way of communicating with the server, which is GraphQL, which allows us to implement the Ajax methodology for the further implementation of the client-side rendering. And ScandiPWA is a single page application theme for your Magento, and you can work with it as you work with a regular theme for Magento, but considering the technology stack was slightly changed. Instead of default Magento layout template system, we are using React. So thank you for your time. I hope you now get a clear understanding of the technologies that we use in the ScandiPWA. What are the differences between ScandiPWA and Magento? Also, I want to notify you that the ScandiPWA core team is now in the progress of writing the documentation that will cover the points we have been discussing today. Also, it will explain you why and how we are different from other PWA solutions for Magento, and just guide you in the world of ScandiPWA if you are new to it, like what should you start with. Also, if you have any technology specific questions, you can join our Slack channel, where community or our core team will be able to help you with all your questions, or you can ping me directly at liana@scandipwa.com. And each Friday we have a webinar with our core architect, Alfred, which will also be able to answer all your specific technology questions. So is there any question for now? So thank you guys for your time once again, and hope you will have a great... Oh, I have a question. So do you mean that what I have a question from Theodoros. What is the relation of ScandiPWA with the official Magento PWA builder? So I guess you're mentioning the PWA Studio, which Magento are presenting as their solution for PWA. So this will also be covered in our documentation that will be public by the end of the month. But for now, I can say that if you are new to every developer, when he starts with a PWA, the technology stack is alien for him. So he needs a time to understand how React works, and then to normally work with this theme. So what ScandiPWA introduces is a really simple and development-friendly way of implementing the solution. So it is easy to work with. But the difference between the React we are using and the React that Magento PWA Studio uses is the level of knowledge you need to have before you start. So if the learning curve of ScandiPWA is up to 2 weeks, then the learning curve of PWA Studio, if you have no React experience, is much more. It's like, I cannot say because it's like it's related to every each of you specifically, but it is x2 time minimum. So this is basically the main difference for now that I can say related to the technology stack, but the further and more detailed explanation will be by the end of the month covered in the documentation. If you are eager to know our solution for the cloud, for the project Baboon Cloud, where you will get the ScandiPWA theme on the cloud immediately, then you can write me directly at Liana at ScandiPWA.com. I will answer all the price-related questions. Or you can also join our meetings with merchants on each Thursday on YouTube. Our CEO will answer your questions related to the prices. Yes, and this webinar will be recorded for sure, and we will be sending the links to the recording. You will be able to access it anytime. And yes, we have real applications running on ScandiPWA. We have recently launched the biggest PWA theme, PWA project on Magento in the world, which is technodome.kz. So you can check it anytime. You can go to our ScandiPWA.com, where the information about our recent projects is displayed. So you can check the website there. Does ScandiPWA will be available to install on my own server? So ScandiPWA is a free theme for your Magento. What you can do is there are multiple variants how you can locally install our theme on your computer. So first of all, If you do not have a Magento installation, you can simply go to our GitHub and with a Docker set up everything together. If you if you have already a store running on Magento, you can just set up our ScandiPWA, as you said, regular theme for your Magento, the same way, really. Or yeah, these are two main options how you can get the ScandiPWA. And of course, all the local setup related questions will be covered as well by the end of the month. By the end of the month, there will be a local setup foolproof guide where all the questions will be answered together with the frequently asked questions page. So you will be able to install it in like 10 minutes. That's it. But for now, yeah, there is still a guide, so you can still follow it on the GitHub. And the theme is completely free. So for developing a PWA project, we either can use PWA Studio or ScandiWeb, but not together, right? Yes, not ScandiWeb, ScandiPWA, if you're talking about the ScandiPWA. So yes, the PWA Studio, the ScandiPWA, the View Storefront, these are different solutions for the PWA. So you either have one, second, or third, or some different solution if you know one. So right, you use what you're easy to work with and more comfortable. Okay, how much time is needed to migrate from Magento 2 to Magento 2 ScandiPWA? Good question. This is very project specific. Yeah, good answer, I know. But what can I say? Why ScandiPWA is so great? It is almost like completed a theme for your Magento. So all the default Magento functionality you have is supported by our theme. Like name everything, anything. I cannot really imagine what is not supported currently in ScandiPWA theme. So it depends how many customizations you have on your current website and how advanced your website is. So basically, to migrate, if you have only the default Magento functionality, it will not take you a lot of time, only the redesign. But anything else can be just configured as you configure it with a regular Magento 2. And yes, I do mean that our theme is free. It's a completely open source. You can go now and install it locally and play around. Completely free. No needs for registration or something else. Just open the GitHub, browse ScandiPWA base theme, and that's it. Magento Commerce Page Builder is not currently supported. We will be working on it, but our theme is made for the open source. It's an open source Magento theme. So yeah, we are not currently supporting the Magento Commerce functionality. The main benefits of using the ScandiPWA cloud is just the ability to host it somewhere else, not on your own server. So basically, the costs are reduced. As I now can mention, it will be $99 dollars per month for no code access. So just your backend Magento admin, yeah, and for $199 per month with the code access as well as the stage and development environments. $99 or $499. This is if you need the access to the code and all dev stage environments. This is something related to the pricing. I know for now. Again, if you for more specific questions also related to the ScandiPWA cloud, feel free to join our webinar, which on Thursday on YouTube, where our CEO will be able to answer all these cloud-specific questions. So basically, what I mean now is $99 per month if you without any access to the code, without access to the repository. So you only have the Magento 2 admin, and $499 if you do have access to the code. Okay, so I guess you can write your question directly at Liana at ScandiPWA.com. I will answer you privately and explain more with more details, yeah, regarding our cloud solution. So any more questions? Thank you for your time. Then again, okay, so how frequently do we upgrade our fixes? Is this what you mean? So we are doing releases not really. It like depends now. We are fixing all the bugs right now, and if we have some, you don't know that. Okay, so we will be releasing next the extension mechanism. So this is really cool. That is upcoming, and together with all the fixes, if there are some. And for the further releases, I cannot really say right now when are they expected. But yeah, again, please join webinars on We have actually each Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Friday specifically with developers, Thursday and Wednesday for the pricing and cloud solution questions. And if something specifically, join Slack channel or ping me directly. Thank you guys for your time, and I hope you will have a great day. Thank you.